The EPCHS. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at the EPCHS.com.
Football Friday on the EP Podcast is a Football Thursday with a Thursday night game for the Evergreen Park Mustangs. If you were looking for the regular 30 minutes of good that is the EP Podcast, don't fret. It's there. If you're using a podcast app, it's just the next show. You can get every show anywhere podcasts can be found and always at the EPPodcast.com. Subscribe. That way you don't miss a thing. But it is Football Friday on a Thursday. And sitting here with me right now, the head coach of the 6-2 Evergreen Park Mustang football team. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Jim Ramazinski is here, Coach Ram. First of all, I mean, you walk into this season, you have expectations, you have a goal, you say it every week that you want to go out there and win every game. That you don't sit there and say, oh, we only need this many wins to get in the playoffs. These are games that are winnable. These are games we may not win. You want to win every game. And then after you do that, you want to go into the postseason game by game, week by week, and try to win every game that you possibly can. And the goal in the end is a championship. But when you started this season off, if somebody would have sat there and said you're going to go into your last game of the year 6-2, I think you would have taken it, right?
No, I mean, yeah. I'm satisfied with our record. You know, we had, like we talked about last week, we had that mid-season slip up, but we kind of have recovered. We're getting a little bit better each week, and we're getting primed up, ready to go for playoff time. Obviously, we got a game before that we got to take care of business, but I think we're in a good spot right now, leading into these last week of the season.
You know, you say mid-season slip up, but I mean, let's be honest. You had a superstar quarterback, and then all of a sudden you didn't, unfortunately, and that's a shame. So I mean, the adjustments though look like they were made, because I look at the last 3 games and I look at the offensive output, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's like you're figuring it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's been a good couple of weeks there. Aiden Bench is doing a really good job at quarterback for us. He, another very efficient game, 7 of 10 passing with a touchdown, and, just being a leader on the field, working hard at practice. So yeah, it's been great. Took a little time for us to get settled, and he's done a really good job of adjusting to a big role and running with an opportunity. When
you say 7 of 10 passing, the first thing I think is like, okay, this is a ground pound team right now. Is that what you become?
Yeah, I mean, we have a talented offensive line, and we have 3 running backs that can really kind of get it going. And this week, 2 of them really stepped up. Jed Ajayi again, over 100 yards and a rushing touchdown. David Johnson, 2 rushing touchdowns. David Johnson, who's a junior.
I know, we talked about that last week. I like hearing about the guys that are going to be back next year too. I'm a long-term planner.
And they're doing great, but like it's like any old saying when you're talking about football, the guys up front again are really doing a good job. They're kind of the catalyst to that running game. Obviously, our running backs, they're making some moves, and they're making guys miss, and they're breaking tackles, and they have big plays, and all 3 of those guys have big play potential. But that first burst is really getting nice, and they're getting nice holes to run through, and that's a credit to our offensive line coach, Jason Fonducci, and they're doing a great job.
That's awesome. So let's talk about this Argo game that just happened on homecoming. I would imagine the atmosphere was live. Were there anybody walking around in the Michael Myers outfit, the Jason outfit? Did you get a look at the crowd at any point?
Yeah, the theme was pink out, so there's a lot of pink, which was good. The rain kind of held off. It was supposed to be pretty bad. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, you didn't have to do the parade because of the rain, right?
No parade. It was raining at those hours, and then to be honest, it kind of stopped leading up to the varsity game. Very rarely was I feeling some real raindrops, but it was a great atmosphere. We had a good game. It was a little bit tighter in the first half.
7-6 it sounds like, or like almost with the half upon you.
Yeah,
and you end up winning this thing 33-7, but the first half of it really close.
Well, we were moving the ball, and then weren't putting it in early on. Defense was playing pretty good. We had a turnover that gave the defense a short field. They scored. They're up 7-6 with 2 minutes left in the first half. But then, we executed a really good 2-minute drill. Aiden Bench really throwing the ball well. Big completion to Keyshawn Lee on that drive. And then Keyshawn caps it off with a touchdown reception. And we go into the half up 13-7. And then the second half, we didn't look back. I mean, we were forcing turnovers. We forced 3 interceptions again this week. That's 3 weeks in a row with 3 interceptions. Lawrence Somerville, a junior, got an interception. Caleb Kaiser, another junior, interception. And then kind of the icing on the cake was Keyshawn Lee getting an interception that he returned for a touchdown in the last 3 minutes of the game.
That's awesome. And that's the thing. Over the last couple of weeks, just somebody who sits here with you, does this show, and I'm sure anybody that's been listening to it as well on the EP podcast would picture a team that, one, is going to go out there and run the ball down your throat. 2, very opportunistic on defense. Multi-interception games week after week, it seems like lately.
Well, and the reality of it, too, is, those guys who get the interceptions get a lot of credit, but our defensive line has been outstanding all year. Specifically Eddie Antunes, Gerald O'Hare, Genesis Ward, Devin Herrera, guys are playing well and they're stopping the run game. And then, when teams are falling behind and they got to throw the ball like Argo had to do, now you can get some chances to really force some turnovers. So, those guys it starts with the guys up front, offense and defense, and our skill guys are really capitalizing on their play.
Coach Ram, this episode and every episode of the EP podcast brought to you proudly by the First National Bank of Evergreen Park, a local community bank that has all kinds of ways to keep your money in your pocket. No overdraft charges. Every ATM is free. It doesn't matter what the charge is, they're going to put the money back in. If you're a small business owner, they now have a business savings special. Open up a new business savings account, get 4% annual percentage yield for the first 12 months with qualifying activities. Stop in and see them today in that iconic building at 95th and Pulaski, the First National Bank of Evergreen Park, member FDIC. Let's take a look at this week's opponent now. All right, let's get into the last game of the regular season. It's a Thursday night game, not a Friday night game. That's why we're out a little bit early here with the coach this week. You're at Shepard. They're 2-6. You're 6-2. They're not going to the postseason. You've punched your ticket. You're looking at the possibility of 7-2, which of course helps your seeding while you go in there. You've got kids coming off of a couple of big wins, a couple of high-scoring games. If you look at Oak Lawn a couple of weeks back at 48 points, 33 points in this game, looking at their 6-2 record, how do you keep them focused? And how do you keep their eye on the ball when they know they're already going to the postseason, but this is a team they got to go on the road and try to beat to get that 7th win?
When you clinch a playoff berth and you still got games to play, it's always a good thing. But, it's tough to keep everyone's focus. And even, today was our first day of practice. It wasn't the worst practice in the world, but some guys needed reminders on occasion. Hey, we have to win on Thursday. And they respond well to those reminders, but you can't take anything for granted. Shepard is 2-6. They got a really couple talented guys that are dangerous. You got to make sure that you're accounting for them. They're well coached, and we just, we can't go out there with the expectation that we're just going to roll over this team based on record. We have to play our game. We have to play it like we're playing another 6-2 team, and that we need this win. So that's the mindset you have to create is can you get the guys to believe that they have to win everything? And it's not easy to do that because it's a long season. I mean, you start summer camp in June. It's not every day in the summer, but, there's a lot of days. And now you're week 9 and school's been going and, Halloween's around the corner, Thanksgiving around the corner. There's different things, we've seen different seasons of the year. Keeping focus is hard, but our boys have responded well overall, and we're going to continue to push them.
Yeah, and you could also kind of point to the fact that, let's be honest, last couple of years, EP has made it into the postseason, but has not gone deep. And it would help your seeding to get that 7th win, right? It might give you a better path.
Yeah, I mean, you'll never really know until the draw. I found over the years, you could win that extra game and then you draw somebody that's actually a worse opponent, or harder opponent, I should say. But you want to win every game. So we're not going to go out there and play the game where, if we win, we'll play this team. If we lose, we'll play this team. 7-2 potentially gets you a home playoff game, which would be cool. It's not a guarantee, but you're not going to get one at 6-3.
Yeah.
7-2, you may. Yeah, it all depends again on who's in the playoffs with you, what their records are, and like I said, the draw is the biggest thing. And the playoff pairing is Saturday night. And, that's when you can see your path and you can see, hey, this is more manageable than we thought, or we got a tough road early. That's obviously when things really get going with the playoff run.
Before we get to the playoff thing, because I'm curious about that, break down Shepard for me and what kind of team they are that you're going to be going up against on Thursday night.
They're aggressive on defense. They got a few guys who really work hard. They got a couple playmakers that are dangerous. I keep telling the guys about them. And, we have to play really disciplined football. We have to start fast. We have to make sure that, we're making the big plays and we're shutting down the big plays. They're going to get first downs. They're going to, they're going to get a couple tackles and stops. That's going to happen. That's football. But can't compound those errors into big plays for them or us making big mistakes. If we do that early, we're going to set ourselves up for some success, hopefully.
Fill me in on this whole thing with the playoff seedings. I'm curious about that. So Saturday night, they'll make up all the matchups. Mm-hmm. So is this something like you're watching it on closed circuit television? You're sitting by a phone waiting for a phone call? How does this work? It's on TV.
It is. Yeah, it's on TV every year. So, we'll be watching it. We'll get our pairing just like everyone else.
Does the team sit together and watch it, or is it just the coaches?
I've done that with teams in the past. This year we're just kind of doing it separate, and we'll go from there. But the coaches will be in communication and talking and ready to go. We just have to then, as coaches, it kind of becomes, every year it's the same thing. When you hit the playoffs, it turns into like a 24-hour scramble mode for every coach across the state of Illinois.
Because you're trying to find tape, like immediately.
Yeah,
you're going to get it and be like, okay, now we got to learn about this team.
Yeah.
We got to call people who might have played this team. We got to start learning what we're doing, because you got to come up with a plan and then start prepping.
Yeah, and it's not a conference opponent that
right.
And that's why, like, a lot of the coaches on our staff, I've relied on them quite a bit about some of these teams because I'm not used to playing them. Like Dave Pierce, who coached defense with me, he knows a lot about these teams. So he's an extremely valuable resource as a coach, and he's been helping out a lot. You don't know who you're going to play, but you do know that once you find out who it is, you kind of got to get to work right away, because Monday will come fast, practice will be there, and before you know it, you're ready to play the game.
Yeah.
So
it sneaks right up on you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The season goes fast. I mean, I can't believe it's week 9.
I can't believe it either. I feel like we've been in such a groove here. I've gotten so used to this, and now all of a sudden we're at the end of the regular season, but I'm expecting a playoff run. I mean, that's my expectation.
Well, that's our expectation.
I want to see you for a long time down here.
That's our expectation every year.
Yeah.
And that's what you work towards. You spend all that time in summer and August, September, now October, and you want to be playing on Fridays and Saturdays into November and see how far you can take the ride.
Coach Ram and his boys go to Shepard, and they play them on Thursday night. It's a Thursday night game again. If you're traveling to go see them, 7 p.m. at Shepard High School. The 6-2 Evergreen Park Mustangs taking on the 2-6 Shepard. I don't know. It's just a big red S. I don't know what they are. Is that what it is? The Astros? That's right. I remember. I've driven by that school before. All right. Sorry, Shepard. Coach Ram, good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.